Hello everyone and welcome to episode 12 of the SATO Briefing series. As you can see in front of me here, we've got one of the main projects that we've been working on, the P61 and RF15 air tanker program. This is my first real joint program conversion process for the tanker programs. Um, Working with Discord member Voodoo, we've had quite a long process with developing and putting these together. It's been fun. Uh, they are progressing well through the development process, and between this, the RF15 as you see here, and the actual P61, there's only going to be two models in the conversion conversion package whenever it comes out. Probably later this year after we're done with the PB4Ys. Uh, the the P61s and the RF15s, they have some issues we still need to work through. We're going through some minor cosmetic changes and things like that from removing some of the things from the military variants that these are based off of. So that presented a little bit of little hiccups here and there we're working through, but it's been going relatively well overall. So I'm pretty excited to have these legacy tankers in the sim. There's only two ever made, and that's what's going to be in the package. So kind of a unique aircraft. Um, and then that's kind of just a real brief overview of them. We'll do probably a more in-depth video once they're closer to being released. But our main focus currently is actually the PB4Ys. So once the PB4Ys are done, then we'll likely finish these and release these, and then move into the Martin Mars, which I'm sure a lot of people are also excited to see. So with these, um, we'll probably see these before the end of the year, I'd imagine. Um, the Alpha Sim Mars, we might get done before the end of the year, but I'm not. It's more of a maybe at this particular point. We'll see. It might be the first conversion project of 2022, but we'll see. So go ahead and get in here, and we'll take a look at one of the PB4Ys. Um, So as you can see here, this is one of the 5 models that are going to be added to the PB4Y project. And there's going to be 5 models now instead of just the base project, which the base project originally was just supposed to be the base models. But as it became more popular and I obliged people's want for different versions, um, we multiplied it from just the base models to 5. So across those 5 models, we'll have 8 liveries, mainly consisting of Hawkins and Powers repaints. Um, Due to Hawkins and Powers being the main user of the privateers, granted they weren't the only operator, but they were the most seen, I would say. Um, the main differences really in the configurations of the aircraft are essentially the nose and the waist glass configurations on these. So basically, the nose really, and the waist glass, like I said, were the only real differences between the different configurations of the Super Privateers. And I say Super Privateers versus a regular privateer because the Super Privateers are uniquely because of the air tanker designs or the air tanker modification process. Hawkins and Powers and a few of the other companies that operated them actually took the stock radial engines that were on the privateers and replaced them with surplus B-25 engines. And the B-25 engines were significantly more powerful than the engines on the original Navy and Coast Guard versions. And you can tell these are super privateers by how the oil coolers look on the tops of the engines. Uh, that's indicative of a B25 engine and not the stock consolidated engines that came on them back in the day. Um, Even though these privateers had this significantly more horsepower for firefighting operations, they still were a handful to fly. And there's handfuls of stories of privateers just being uh, having a hard time in high density altitudes in the western United States and things like that. These very hot conditions and being fully loaded with 2,000 gallons basically of retardant and them having a hard time getting off the ground in some circumstances. I know at Hemet there's been a story of them one actually taking out the perimeter fence at Hemet Ryan and having to jettison a load and making a safety landing at another airport close by to for safety reasons. But yeah, there's lots of stories like that, and it's definitely a beast of an airplane to fly. You needed a lot of skill to fly a lot of these old piston engine tankers. Like the B-17s, or the C-54, DC-4s, DC-6, DC-7, PB4Ys, all that. Um, those were, there's no hydraulically boosted controls. It's all manual. Um, but yeah, anyway, um, it's a very cool airplane, and you can see through a lot of the stuff we did with these is we updated the textures to 4K, and we've added a lot of the associated things for PBR and things like that. Um, and with PBR, it just kind of, I help think, sets these mostly chrome looking airplanes off. So that's these are probably, we're in the final stages of I would say completing these. A lot of the texture updates still need to be finished, but it's a very tedious process, and like I said, that I have said before, in a lot of these cases, that last little bit of what needs to be done in these projects is what takes the most time, I would say. Aside from all the model changes and things like that, coming down to the textures and just kind of going over and checking a lot of that last minute stuff out is, like I said, what takes a lot of the time. And if you find anything, you have to try and fix it. But these we're trying to get out, I would say, sometime in late November, so fairly soon. I don't think there'll be any later than that, but like I said, it's a project, and things could change. But I like to try and keep our uh, our dates for things relatively loose, just in case, so we don't let anybody down, or we do come across a certain problem or whatnot else. It's not a big deal. We can hopefully do that without too much delay. Um, uh, and some more interesting stuff with these. Jeremy, who originally designed these, actually um, sent me a few different nose versions he wanted to release in the original package, but wasn't able to. So you'll see that you've seen those Tanker 126 and 127. That's one of the noses that he designed, and will be part of this package. This here on Tanker 125 is one that I did. But those two models that he did for the noses will be in this package as well. He wanted to do those originally, but never really got around to it for other projects and things like that he was working on. But that's kind of exciting to do, to add to these. Also, he also kind of told me that he was interested in doing a complete redesign for these, possibly for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 at some point, maybe. So that'll be really cool if that happens to manifest itself later on down the line. Because currently Jeremy is kind of pioneering a lot of the groundwork for developing things for FS2020 for firefighting stuff. Me, I'm mainly still focused on FSX and P3D, just simply based on availability for P3D for me, and I haven't decided to get into FS2020 just due to various reasons, and I'm just not a huge fan of where the overall program is at this particular juncture in time. But I won't get too far into the FS2020 stuff because I'll probably talk about it a little bit later here with some of the other interesting uh, things that are kind of in the works that I've seen. Jeremy, though, is working on a high detail S2T, Cal Fire S2T, though. Super accurate, probably as close as the real airplane as you can probably get. Maybe even possibly used as a training platform. We don't know, but it'd be really cool if he's able to, pull that off. But from what I've seen in that airplane so far in FS 2020, that thing is super accurate, very, very cool looking airplane, all the way down to the flight manuals and things like that he has for it. Um, so, from what it sounds like, it's likely will be payware. I'm not surprised because of the quality of that. It's basically down to the actual airplane. It's so accurate. Um, Probably the most accurate one ever made, I would say, for the S2T. Uh, but uh, but yeah, so not getting too far off with the FS 2020 stuff. Like I said, I'll come back to that. But the next thing we're probably going to look at is the Martin Mars. The Martin Mars will be the last aircraft that we do probably this year, or maybe the first aircraft we'll do next year. So, but we'll see. So, as you can see here, this is the Mars as it sits currently. I added PBR to this as well. Um, this is Hawaii Mars as well. This is Tanker 223 in the U.S. Forest Service library that it was in when it was in service in the U.S. for the brief time that the U.S. Forest Service contracted it from Colson. Hawaii Mars will have this library, and it will have its Canadian operation library, and then I also have Philippine Mars in its Canadian library and the U.S. Navy version colored. So that kind of sits in currently up there in Canada. So that'll be fun to do. The only bad thing with this is that's a huge thing that kind of kept me from working on this project further was the cockpit. I was able to manage to update the physical cockpit textures and the interior model for looking out over the wings, the propellers, and things like that. But the gauges, since it was so old, are largely non-functional in the virtual cockpit. You can still look around in the virtual cockpit, like I said, look outside and see the engines spinning and all that. But the gauges don't work in the cockpit. So it's a little bit beyond my expertise because the model just needs a physical redo of the interior model, and that's kind of above my like I said, my expertise level. So I'm just good at doing very basic model additions and changes and tweaks and things like that. But a full interior redesign, that's a little beyond little beyond me at this particular point in time. So, but at least we'll have a PBR updated Martin Mars tanker. So and it's a really cool airplane. I had the opportunity to see it fly in California whenever I lived there several times. It was based in Lake Elsinore when it was based in Southern California, and it would fly around the area that I lived in around Hemet. And it would fly between Lake Elsinore and Diamond Valley Lake, which was just actually south of the actual tanker base in Hemet. And they would fly around and practice around the valley, dropping water loads and scooping out of the lake and things like that. It was a really cool aircraft to see fly around, and I was able to see it and get real close to it, doing a lot of its training, and actually got to see it fly and drop on a few fires too around the area. Really cool seeing something this large, banking through tight terrain and things like that, and things, and it's just amazing how big this thing is. And this thing carries 7,000 gallons of water, and it can scoop it in like under a minute. I think it's something like 45 seconds or something like that. It can scoop that much water up. pretty amazing airplane. But I'm glad that kind of getting it updated so we can fly it around in the sim. So, and that's kind of another reason why I did the S76 repaint pack. If you haven't seen, I released the repaint package for the Firewatch 76 aircraft or helicopters for Coulson. Um, those were um, those were released earlier this week. This was the livery that was seen whenever they were flying it down here or down in California, and yes, it was the early livery. So I also have several current liveries, as you can see here. Um, these are the current liveries that are currently flying in the S-76s. I have them for Canadian, U.S. operations, and Australian operations. So largely the same repaints. They're just marked differently for the different countries that they're operating in, but still a good model. I mean, this is a freeware updated version of the Namath S-76 Spirit package that done by Eagle Rotorcraft. It's probably one of the best freeware helicopters out there, in my opinion, in terms of functionality and stuff like that. And it's fun to fly. But yeah, so that's another reason why I picked it to do these repaints. Yeah, this was a small repaint package, and it's only available on Simviation currently. So you can find it over there. Like I said, it was released in the last week. So uh, in terms of, wanted to get back into more talking about FS2020 type development, and to be honest with how my interest with FS2020 is, I'm not looking at rushing into it. I still haven't even got that simulator, to be quite honest. I am not a huge fan of where it sits currently in terms of its stability and basically the way that it's advancing. Granted, it is advancing. It's just I really think that they rushed that whole process of releasing it and getting it out there for people to use. I think it's really hurting it, the simulator as a whole. But without getting too far into that, in terms of aerial firefighting stuff for that, there are some things that I have seen people are doing since the particle effects and things like that are being updated fairly well in it. I've seen aircraft such as super scoopers and air tractors and things like that being used in the simulator with like a water drop / scooping water effect and things like that. So the firefighting aspect is slowly being built upon in the simulators. Once it's more, I guess, substantial, then I would say maybe it'd be more interest to me to go and get that simulator and maybe try uh, uh, jumping in with Jeremy and doing some more of that, some more work there for development stuff, because Jeremy right now is really pioneering the firefighting stuff for FS2020. Like I said, I haven't done anything with it, but there are some companies out there like Firefighter X. I haven't seen anything specifically mentioning that they're working on anything for commercially for FS2020 and firefighting stuff, at least yet. I've seen other small training companies that are experimenting with some of their things that they learned from their programs with some testing footage I've seen in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So there's stuff in the works. People are looking at it, and there is active development, but I still think we're quite a ways off from seeing something that's maybe going to be a commercialized product. Um, the simulator itself still isn't nearly as stable as P3D or even FSX is. And like I said, we've got a long time to really build that simulator up to where it's at that point. I mean, it's still largely not even complete. But I mean, a simulator that's so advanced, I'm kind of not surprised. Um, but like I said, it's just a patient waiting game, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm excited to use the simulator. Once it's a little more to my liking, then I'll shift my focus more from just doing P3D and FSX conversions and repaints and things like that, and dabble with the FS2020 at that particular point. But other than that, in terms of our involvement with FS2020, that's kind of it right now. It's just availability of time working on projects and things like that. But our main focus is still FSX and P3D products. So that's pretty much it for this update, and we'll keep an eye out on the Discord channel if you're a member on there, or on our Facebook page. If you want more up-to-date information and stuff like that, I sometimes post daily updates in the Discord channel. I'll probably post another link here soon if anybody wants to just pop off of there and join in some of the conversations. We've got a lot of members that like to share information. We share information, requests, things like that. Generally fun topics, and we're also working on getting multiplayer operations possibly going. So that's another thing to possibly look forward to in the new year. We've been doing a lot of small group flights on the Discord channel with some of the guys that are part of the community, and they've been doing a really good job of basically setting that up and taking part and doing that all themselves. I essentially just I'm just helping support these guys, but these guys have largely done a lot of the multiplayer setup stuff and troubleshooting, and hopefully we'll have a more stable setup for that to do some larger group flights here relatively soon. So that'll be fun to do, because the small flights have been very fun to do. So it'd be nice to do some larger operations out of some of these bases, and some larger fires, and it'll be fun to do. We can get some, spend some time with the community, and do some fun firefighting stuff. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and tune into the next one.